As you can see, the storm Anna has brought some snow over the Stockholm region. It's not that much, but it's tough enough to run in. I'm out on a easy long distance run. Coach says about 90 to 2 hours, but I think I will run this K track and it will take about, I guess, 65 to 70 minutes, and then I'm out. And talking about out, I did go to Hyrox Stockholm. It didn't end up as expected, or maybe it did. So keep watching and I will talk more about it. I went to the venue on Friday because I was a judge at the rowing station. Oh, well, I started at the rowing station, then I was transferred to wall balls later on. I realized immediately that Hyrox is a lot about that pumping music, the high energy, and I'm not that used to that kind of environment. As you can see, this is more like where I like it, on my own, out in the forest. But I knew what it was like. I did compete at Oslo, and this time going pro I was more concerned about the weights at sled push and the sled pull. But actually it was not that the weights that got me. It was mentally again. I knew I should start out pretty soft, not running that fast at the first 1K, but I did not expect that all the other guys should run that much faster. Or not, maybe not all of them, but when I entered the SkiErg, I got the last machine in that row. There's like 2 rows, and that got to me mentally already. For me, that is quite depending on my performance. It was hard to see that I was after already at start. I know that the first stations are not the ones that will, well, it can define the race, but if you go slower you might end up at a better place later on. You might succeed better than the others during the upcoming stations. But for me it was mentally tough. I was there alone again, didn't have anyone that cheered on me, and I'm not sure if I noticed that during the sled push, but there was this family cheering their dad, and I felt during the sled push that it was tougher than in Oslo, but I did manage to push the sled. I guess I pushed it like almost halfway at first, and then took a break, but that break was longer than it should be, and mentally I was off already. So I saw the other guys leaving the station and I was still there, maybe with 1 or 2 more lengths to go, and my mind had switched to that I'm not good for this, or that I don't want to do this. It was more like that, I think. I guess I felt that I could do this. I have the physique to complete a Hyrox at about, I guess, 80 minutes, but I need to be there mentally as well. So at the run after the sled push, I think I already start thinking about quitting, and that is not good. So at the sled pull, it was a bit harder than the push, but I still was able to move the sled. But here it really got to me that, oh, hello you. Here it really got to me that I did not have anyone that was cheering me. All I can hear was this young boy cheering on his dad. And that was tough, actually. I'm not sure why, but it got to me even more mentally. And I did manage to pull all the way through, going out on the run again. And I knew that the burpees was coming up, and that was a hard one in Oslo. And I started to think even more how to quit, where to quit. And when I turned up at the burpee station, I stayed for a while, talked to the girl that was standing there, the judge, just to get my pulse down. Well, it was already quite low, but I just needed to take a break and mentally prepare. And I started doing the push-up or the burpees. It was quite good because it was like 4 lengths back and forth. So you had like 20 meters, then a natural rest when you go to the next lane, and then 20 meters again, and the last one. But I did them really slow, took some long rests between them, but I didn't feel any joy. I'm not feeling any joy at all. And I think when you work out and exercise, compete or whatever, you must feel some joy there inside, and I didn't feel that. So I talked to one of the judges after finished the 3rd leg of burpee bro jumps, asked her how to quit, and she was get some advices from like a head judge. He scanned my bib, and then I could go to the finish and leave my bib there. So that was it. And I did talk to myself during the race that maybe it's good for me to quit, to not fulfill something that I don't want to fulfill. That if I don't enjoy it, then it might be better to stop. And the funny thing is that I look at my pulse during the night, I look at my HRV, and at this point I think I had an average HRV at 53 or 54, and I know that the top HRV during that week was 57. And you might think that even though I quit, I was out there for like 45 minutes and it was hard. I did push myself a bit, but during that night my HRV was higher than for a real long time. It was 58, so I guess that proves how much the mental stress affects your HRV. It's not only physical stress. I guess my body was not that stressed from the Hyrox itself, but mentally I was relieved by quitting, by listening to myself. And I think you should take notes of the HRV if you can, if you have a watch that can read the HRV. I think it's an interesting data to look at. So probably for me, this Hyrox thing is too much related to my life in general. It's kind of a thing to get away from thinking about other things, and mentally that was a release when quitting and not thinking of Hyrox anymore. Well, I got this starting place at Hyrox Copenhagen Pro again. I decided to sign up for that because when you do a judge session at Hyrox, you can get a voucher to select from the Hyrox store, buying shoes, clothes or whatever, or you can get a code to compete at a Hyrox event within the Nordic region, for me that is. So I thought, well, I have done Oslo, Stockholm, not fulfill it, but I didn't know that when signing up for Copenhagen. So I have this ticket for Copenhagen, but I'm not sure if I will redeem it and use it in Oslo or Stockholm later on this year. We'll see. At the moment, I'm just looking forward to go out and run. I have still used Gemini to talk to, you know, like get inputs, what I should be focusing on and stuff like that, and consider that I should probably try to look forward to something that I really want to do. And for me it is, for example, this orienteering relay, Tiomila. I would really like to be in good shape for that, and whatever leg I got, I will do a great race. So my main goal now is to increase my VO2 max. At this point I think it's like 52.4, and actually I was out on New Year's Day trying to do like a max heart rate test, but it was like now too much snow for me to push it that hard. My legs was like getting lactic acid quite directly due to snow, and I ended up having a max pulse of 169, I guess. So that's far from the 200 I'd added in the app, and I was looking into this value of 200 if it's a relevant value, And looking back to, I think it was in May, when I ran about 5k kind of full speed, and even though maybe the max heart rate value of 209 was a bit off, maybe it was just, you know, like a kind of a peak, an error, the overall pulse rate shows that I have a really high maximum heart rate. And looking at some data from my Hyrox no equipment session, I also had a really high heart rate, about, I think it was 190. So chatting with Gemini, it also says that my value of 200 is probably correct. Maybe I should do like a VO2 max test at some place like Sports Club at Vallentuna, but it costs, and I'm not sure if I'm ready to pay that for a test. So let's say I have 200, and let's say that I have a VO2 max at 52.4. I have been having a VO2 max at 53.3 during some of the intervals before Hyrox Stockholm, so I know it can be increased. So let's see what it can be if I focus on it. But now I need to focus on keep on in this snowy 10k trail. So I hope you enjoyed this one, and I see you in the next one.